Hi everyone, let me tell you a story how I sold my own branded film. And if you're interested in medium format, because it's 35mm, that's possible too, and I will tell about this in the end of the video. So basically it all began like a few years ago when I read a Japan Camera Hunter article about this ORWO film that is still being produced by the motion picture film manufacturer, but you cannot buy it in like 35mm rolls. You can only buy it in reels because, well, they only produce it for movie basically. But luckily you can just shoot them an email and they will mail you like a reel if you want to bulk load your own stuff. And I forgot about this article until kinda quite recently. I stumbled upon a website that was selling actually ORWO film pre-rolled in 35mm, and I ordered like a couple of rolls just to try, and I liked that so much, but the price was a little bit high. It was like around $9 per roll, which was a little bit beyond my pain point. And then I remembered this article and, well, I wrote this email, and I'm also in Germany, so that was really easy for me. I just wrote everything in German language, and like shipping from Germany to Germany is no brainer at all. But even like a smallest reel for me was like a little bit too much. So I decided to ask around if anyone would like to buy like excess film from me. And there was like quite a few people from my Instagram mainly who actually pre-ordered. Well, not really pre-ordered because I didn't collect money, and that's like tip number one. If you selling anything like this, collect money right away. In like worst case situation, you will just wire money back, because as you later see, I won't be able to basically to follow up on all the orders, and I needed just a couple of things to fulfill all the orders. Well, the film itself was the easiest part. I just like wrote an email, wired the money, and I got my reel. And the next one was canisters, because I needed to basically roll, you know, a film into something, and then I needed a bulk loader because I didn't have one, and I have never bulk loaded film before, so I bought the used one from eBay as well. And then canisters I also found on eBay. I think it was like a film lab. They would sell like 300 of those, and the price was really cheap. It was like €5 per 100, I think, and I bought all of them. I bought 300, but the catch was that they actually wouldn't guarantee that the leader film, you know, that like a little piece of the film is still sticking out of the roll. But lucky me, only 50 of those 300 wouldn't have it. But then anyway, I needed to spend like an evening, like, you know, pulling this film out of the rolls, and just with a pair of tweezers in my hand. So the canisters part was solved. But even with this kind of amateurish approach, I couldn't sell it with just some kind of second-hand canister. So I decided to actually develop a brand and like brand my rolls. So I paid like another extra €100 to a freelance designer, and they ended up with a logo. And since I didn't really enjoy working with designers and I couldn't really spend any more money on the project, I decided to design the canister my own, and it took me like half an hour, and I just like placed the logo and all the needed parts on the strip of the sticky basically film, and just printed it out using my printer at home. So rolling the film ended up being actually a tricky part, because I didn't want to fog the film, so I decided to roll the film, to bulk load the film in the dark changing bag, and that was actually tricky. So why I did that? Because, well, when you load the canister in a bulk loader, there is like this tail of the film will end up being fogged, and it is actually kind of last frame or even a little bit more. And you know, realizing that you just shot the last frame and this frame is ruined, for my customers I couldn't afford that. I didn't want to sell basically film like that, so I decided to roll it in a changing bag, and that was really challenging. So when I have my film ready, selling this wasn't particularly easy as well. So some people thought that it should cost like $2 per roll or even less, because, well, it's a hand-rolled film, like what do you want, right? But actually, economically, it's impossible to fulfill this kind of price, because even if you would buy like a larger reel or largest reel, the price per roll would be still around like $2.50, $3. But then there is a canister price, then there is like a labor price actually hand rolling this stuff, so it just cannot cost less, and people would just straight laugh at me when I would announce a price somewhere around $4 I think I charge per roll. And I ended up like selling 2 batches and 30 rolls in total, and after that I decided to stop following up with other people because the experience was way too negative, and that wasn't my goal. So my goal was just to share this reel with people and get like half of it for my own use. So I decided that it's better to keep a little bit more for my own use and keep like a good mood instead of like a bad mood instead. So what about 120 film that I mentioned? So my idea was very simple: buying a master roll from Filmotech and then hiring Fomapan, for example, to cut it and to package it into 120 rolls, but that wasn't possible. They just don't sell master rolls. But what they do sell is 70mm pancakes, and this 70mm pancake, I think they have like a cutting machine that would just slit this into halves, and this is how you would get like 2 35mm reels, right? But actually 70mm is enough to produce 60mm stripe for 120 film, and this is how you actually can do it. The problem is that's not something they normally sell, right? So they would ask you to buy 15 of those, 15 pancakes, which results in 305 meters film, and basically 70mm wide and 300 meters. This is somewhere around 400 rolls of 120 film, and me not being able to fulfill even like 100 rolls of 35mm, I just decided not to sign up for this enterprise, given that actually I would need to build a machine that basically cuts like a little bit from that 70mm and produces like a 60mm stripe, right? So it's possible, and I'm an engineer, I can build this machine, but the problem is without this type of orders or even prepaid orders, I wouldn't go there. And the thing is that you actually need to do this in complete darkness as well, and basically what goes on top, you also need to basically source somewhere this 120 rolls, right, the spools, and also backing paper, and then you also need to do like some packaging as well on top. So this is very labor consuming, and you need to be really creative to do this. But I know that some people do, and there are a number of film stocks available on the market that you can buy in 35mm reels. This is, for example, there is a company Tasma in Russia. They produce aerial photo film, and I actually wanted to go that way, but given my failure with the ORWO film, I decided not to. And I think you actually can just like research. There are some companies that can sell some emulsions that they don't really produce, or they can sell like reels, and you actually can do your own film, even 120 film that does not exist on the market, period. So if you don't do it, nobody will do it most likely, and then nobody will have this, for example, ORWO 120 film. And I think the problem here is that, well, my Instagram didn't really have marketing power. It's under 1,000 subscribers, and you need a company like Lomography, or you need to write to maybe some stores that would, take your films for distribution. But the problem is you actually need to guarantee quality, right? That's the biggest part, and this is the scariest part for me, and this is why actually I also stopped like following up on people, because I wasn't sure how you can be sure that your canisters are light-proof, like all of them. How you can make sure that the way you roll the film is safe and the quality will be good. How you can make sure that the reel you got is not damaged, right, in any way. So I did, of course, like a test shot and what have you, but still, I mean, I didn't test like the whole strip. It's just like a pure trust, right? And I didn't want to go there. And in the end, that's not a promo video. I'm not selling it anymore. So if you actually want to buy ORWO film, just go to Filmotech directly, or buy Lomography, Berlin, or Potsdam film. I think that's ORWO because it's motion picture film, it's 100 and 400 ISO film, so that's got to be ORWO. There's just no way around it, and the names is after German names, and Filmatex is a German company in the end. So was it worth it? Not really. Was it fun experience? Partially. And I mean, just like I said earlier, if you want to get yourself into something like this, make sure that you collect money up front, make sure that you kind of streamline all your production and whatnot. And if you ever would make this 120 ORWO film, just shoot me a message and I would order like 5 rolls from you. So that's being said, thanks for watching and I see you next time.